Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of April 2015, General Focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This is a big month. It's an important month for a lot of us. Those of us born right around the 4th or 5th are going to feel the importance of this month more than most, but all of us in some way are approaching and experiencing a moment of truth, followed by a breakthrough that leads to greater inspiration, greater hope, and greater possibilities as well. Sometimes we need a little bit of tension, a little bit of chaos to get us to that great place, as the universe is going to show us now. And this is all thanks to an eclipse that is happening early in the month. This eclipse is speaking with Pluto, with Uranus, with Mercury, and with Jupiter as well. So it starts off speaking in tension, and then it gives way to harmony with Jupiter, which says to me that whatever is changing right now in your life, you will very, very soon be very grateful for it. So big changes on offer for all of us. Born around the 4th or 5th, the changes will be that much more magnified, but all of us will experience change. For Aquarians out there, the big change couldn't be better, okay? This eclipse is happening in fellow air sign. So I do think that while other people might not necessarily know what to do with the chaos, I think that for you, you will be one of those signs that actually is going to navigate the changes quite well, will be one of the first to see the opportunities and the possibilities playing out in front of you, and one of the first likely to attract some really helpful supporters along your journey. So this particular eclipse is happening in a part of the sky for you that has to do with knowing more and stepping up to a bigger stage than you knew before, experiencing more at that, having a vision and having an understanding of what it is that needs to be put into place so that you can manifest even bigger things a little bit further down the road. So we've got this eclipse happening, and let me break it down. I do think that a lot of people out there are going to be experiencing change, especially where it comes to whatever their message is and how it is that they're going to develop it and share it. So just on a very immediate level, right, on a very literal level, this tends to represent an opportunity to travel. May come out of nowhere and may have to be taken very quickly, but likely will be to either another country or the other coast of your country. So usually this involves like long distance travel, as it said, usually by airplane. So the opportunity to travel may pop up for you. It will be very, very karmic, okay? So whatever chance to travel comes up, I mean, I am of the belief that anywhere we go ultimately is about awakening. Yes, on the one hand, karmic contracts, karmic understandings, but really awakening new parts of us, and tends to be very perfectly timed. And this becomes that much more obvious under an eclipse like this. So if an opportunity to travel comes up, if a place resonates with you that you gotta go, you will be very, very glad you did, for the turning point that it provides you. For others, this is an institute of higher learning. So again, very literal manifestation, an institute of higher learning. So this could be either getting a response from a university that you've applied to, or deciding to apply to a university, or getting back some grades. I mean, anything involved, it does tend to represent a turning point dealing with an institution of higher learning. So whether you've been thinking about it, whether you've been putting plans into motion, or whether you've already been involved in a process of higher learning, this month will represent an important turning point for you. So when I see something like this, I mean, people, they change majors, they decide to drop out, they decide to go back to school, get a higher degree. So big changes tend to happen in that realm. So these are very literal manifestations. Another is this part of the sky has to do with publishing, and it has to do with, as I said, stepping up to a bigger stage than you had before. And so if you're a writer, you've got great opportunities here to find a great publisher, to get published. If you have anything that you're sharing, whether it's art or literary or otherwise, This is the kind of sky that affirms that it's not just about you being busy doing your craft, doing your art in your own space, but that it's meant to be shared in a bigger way. And if you've already been sharing, this is that next level, that next opportunity, possibly a media opportunity as well. So it's another next step, bigger step towards sharing and shining even brighter what you are already giving. This part of the sky has to do with, as I said, vision, okay? Vision. It has to do with earning those credentials, putting those things into place so that you can manifest bigger things once we have activity happening at the very top of your chart. So it's the part of your chart just before the top of the chart. The top of the chart, that's where manifestation is fully realized. So this is on the way there. So this tends to be a real recognition of what it is that you need to start doing if you want those bigger things to happen personally and professionally as well. So just personally, you get a glimpse into your life purpose and you say, you know what, this is the vision I have. This is the direction I believe I'm meant to go in. So what can I do right now to bring myself into alignment with what it is I'm hoping to manifest? So it ends up being a very deeply personal process. And part of that process tends to be an examination of belief. What do you actually believe, and do your beliefs serve where it is that you desire to go? Now, I also want to say this part of the sky, because it is connected to belief, sort of the values that guide our life, it is not completely out there to think that this is the type of sky that could also speak to a conversion of sorts, okay? So this could be sort of you realizing that a certain spiritual path you've been following has served its purpose in your life and being absolutely okay with that, like recognizing on a soul level, even though it challenges you. The realization doesn't seem to be easy, okay? But there comes a point when you've been sort of exploring a discipline or a way of viewing the world, a spiritual paradigm, and you recognize that you've learned what it was that you needed. It has served its purpose, and you're now ready to go on to whatever the next thing your soul is ready to call you towards. That type of shift can take place under an eclipse like this. So it is a very powerful eclipse and a meaningful eclipse at that, especially to an Aquarian. And I do think that your sign is one of those signs, you know, you've got this interesting dichotomy always playing out, where on the one hand, you thrive under changing circumstances. Something within you can become really calm when there's lots of chaos and change happening. Another part of you resists it because you're a fixed sign. Another part of you just wants things to stay steady, but you know that you stagnate in that place. So this is a really interesting dichotomy playing out. I would say to you, that part of you that finds the calm within the chaos, you are going to be one of those that finds it quicker than other signs would, because you can see the value of what's playing out quicker than other signs might. As we progress further into the month, in the second part of the month, we have a new moon happening, not as eventful as the eclipse, but this really has to do with not so much about like sharing in the big way, but actually the logistics of sharing. So whereas you're tapping into your message, you're understanding how you need to be, how you need to allow yourself to shine more, and you're stepping up with the full moon. This new moon is saying, okay, now you've stepped up, now do things a little bit different. Put those systems into place, put the structures into place so that you're able to do so that much more seamlessly. This is more about, whereas the eclipse has to do with sharing your voice, this part of the sky has more to do with finding your voice, developing your voice as well. Whereas the eclipse has to do with publishing, this has to do with the actual process of writing, okay? So if you're one of those people who's been sort of doing something, you've been doing it well, whether it's in your career or otherwise, and you've enjoyed it, this is going to be a chance to think, you know what, maybe I could write down some of the stuff I've learned because maybe it could help other people. Maybe I could take a workshop that could help me like better understand how to use this program, this computer program, that ultimately can help me share in an even better way, a more organized way at that. And there's also an element here that has to do with writing out the plans, like creating plans. So this is a good sky for having like a business plan or starting to write out that business plan so you understand, have a generalized map for where you're going. Because you've got all this inspiration and all these breakthroughs happening in the early part of the month. It may take a little time to come back around and understand that, okay, now all these wonderful things are happening. Let's make sure that they are strong for as long as possible at that. So this tends to be a really good sky to take like workshops, talks, classes, all that kind of stuff tends to be really blessed under a sky like this as well. And of course, we have in this part of the sky your ruling planet over the course of this decade, as I spoke about in the decade ahead horoscope for your sign. Over the course of this decade, your ruling planet is moving through this very part of the sky, which does suggest a certain affinity playing out here right now. And so it does suggest that the areas that are going to be highlighted under this particular new moon are those that are developing and evolving and where you're finding yourself even more notably than you might otherwise. This part of the sky also has to do with neighbors. It has to do with siblings and cousins, okay? So when I look at this, I think to myself that it is very likely that a sibling or a cousin or a neighbor is going to call on you to be there for them in a new way. It's also very possible that one of these people has good news, especially a sibling or a cousin expanding the family, possibly getting a spouse or a child. This sky also speaks to having a new neighbor as well. So also very possible under this sky. And it looks to be good all around. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of inspiration. It's a pretty friendly new moon. Now, leading up to the new moon, there's some questions, there's some uncertainty, there's a little bit of tension. But once we get to that new moon, you start to see the benefits of the changes that are happening and start to flow with them very nicely at that. What I love about this month for you is that you are challenged to be more than you knew yourself to be before. And you find that in the act of demonstrating it. So it isn't just about what you believe. It isn't just about what's happening on a level of mind, on a level of ideas, but also on a level of your passion and you acting from that place. When you tap into what you know you deserve to share, you will find the opportunities will be there plentyfold.